What are the 5 non-blue blood programs that you think have the best chance of emerging as contenders over the next decade? So I came up with 5 of them. Now, I wouldn't classify any of these as blue bloods. Now, also, you need to understand, I didn't include Miami here. People would argue they're a blue blood. Clemson, I mean, they're already there. So there are some programs that have been blue bloods. Texas, I'm not going to put them in here. Too many people would consider them a blue blood. Arkansas, you would not consider a blue blood, although there's a lot of history and pageantry around the Hogs, and they're obviously a favorite on this program. So you know what's going on there with Sam Pittman. You know that we have well documented the very unique culture and dynamic that's in place up there right now, but it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than just feel good. They're actually a really, really good football team. Talking to someone earlier today on the phone about what they could be this year. Fast defensively, about as fast as you will have seen Arkansas be in quite a while. They're building depth. They don't have a huge question mark like some other programs do at quarterback, but what it's doing right now, since we're talking about the next decade, is it's building this foundation on proven results. You're not having to try and convince kids, even though you're winning 3 games, to come play here and turn it around. They already went 9-4 last year. They're playing one of, if not the toughest schedules in the country annually. This year, I think they play, Brigham Young, and they open against Cincinnati. So they always challenge themselves. But Arkansas could be one of those that continues to kind of defy conventional wisdom. That's what they'll have to do, make no mistake, based solely on the division they're in. They'll have to defy conventional wisdom. Arkansas is one, though, that I could see popping off. Utah already does this out in the Pac-12. It's just that you always expect them to be a good, solid program. So when they are solid, it doesn't take you by surprise. So if Oregon State were giving you Utah results, it'd be a bigger story. But Utah's been such a mainstay that they've been this little regional power that you think is confined to just that, a regional power. And I don't know how this would happen. I don't know how Utah would take the next step. Maybe they figure out something with portal. Maybe they figure out something with NIL, or maybe they just become less a victim of the portal era and the NIL era than some other programs out west. Maybe that, by default, is how they end up taking that next step. But what we haven't seen that we could end up seeing any given year is Utah in the playoff. We have not seen that yet. We've seen West Coast teams in the playoff, not in the last few years, but we've seen Oregon there. We've seen Washington there. We could easily see Utah there. Utah smoked Oregon twice last year and had an ultra-competitive Rose Bowl with USC, or Ohio State, and they had all kinds of ups and downs last year. It's a program that's always there. They're always, you hear the knock, they're always knocking on the door. They're a program that's there just in case any of the other top handful of teams any given year fall off. I could see Utah taking one of those next steps. I'll tell you how it would probably happen. Picture an ultra-tight quarterback battle somewhere. Just pick wherever. And the guy that is wanting to transfer out of there because he's like Jack Miller that just left Ohio State and went to Florida. What if one year Jack Miller ends up going to Utah? They've already had transfers there before, but I'm saying if they just hit it out of the park one time with a major quarterback transfer, that could be all it takes. They're not miles away. They're already there. Kyle Whittingham's been there forever. You want to surprise yourself? Just go look at Kyle Whittingham's Wikipedia page. How long he's been at Utah. He's been there a long time. Some of you are watching this thing with a driver's license that you weren't born when Kyle Whittingham first took over at Utah. Don't run the math there. I think that's right, though. So Utah could be that. Let's go all the way to the East Coast. North Carolina could be this. I think North Carolina is going to give you a little delayed gratification, but I think there's eventually coming a time, maybe it's under Mack Brown, maybe it's under whoever takes over when Mack Brown leaves, retires, whenever that is. But I think North Carolina is very well positioned. I think they've been well positioned for a while to be a team. They're very well positioned for recruiting. They have invested in infrastructure there. Their staff's very good. It's a place that people want to go play. It's a place that a lot of talented kids can stay home and play. North Carolina's in a winnable division. They're in a winnable conference, for that matter. They've got a lot going for them. It's a very, very attractive brand. They've got a lot going for them. And I think that because a lot of people expected things from them last year, and they didn't live up to your expectations and my expectations, a lot of people are going to sell on them hard this year and in the future. And I don't look at it that way. I just look at it as they underachieved. The 2021 version of North Carolina underachieved. I don't think that impacts whatsoever what they could be in 2025, let's say. So North Carolina's there. We just talked about Texas A&M. Texas A&M is probably the go-to here. It's not a traditional blue blood. They haven't racked up half a dozen national championships, but they're right there. They've got everything in spades. They've got the right head coach. They've got all the infrastructure in place. They got bottomless resources. They've got the recruiting. I mean, they are clearly the number one answer here. I just put him at number 4 because we had just talked about him like a minute ago. And the 5th one's also in the state of Texas, and that's Baylor. Baylor, because of the head coach there, could be one that surprises a lot of people. I mean, who won the Big 12 last year? Do you even remember that it was Baylor? A lot of people I have found do not automatically recall, oh, that was Baylor. That was that play down near the goal line. I remember I was sitting, where was I? That was SEC Championship Day. So I'm in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'm in the photographer's field room because I don't like to hang out in the press box for many reasons. So I'm down in the trenches with the actual workers. And we're watching that game, and man, everyone's on pins and needles, and you get that stop at the half-yard line, and Baylor wins the Big 12, and Dave Aranda's heart rate never goes above 80 beats per minute. But that's part of the beauty of what I love about Dave Aranda. I told you the story about how we were out there in Waco for the Oklahoma-Baylor game earlier that year, and the quote that he gave us after the game that had struck me and still stays with me. Everybody's celebrating. I mean, that place is going crazy. They stormed the field. And all Dave Aranda could say afterwards is, I'm really kind of disappointed that we played up this week. And what he was saying was, I'm not disappointed we won. He was saying they had just lost the week before against TCU. And his perception was, we rebounded because of that loss. Instead of just playing at a steady level every week, we were a prisoner of reacting to past results. We were result-oriented. I love that. I mean, that's the key to winning and sustaining success long term. So Arkansas, Utah, North Carolina, Texas A&M, and Baylor, I could see any of those or all of those popping off a conference championship win or a playoff run over the next few years. But those are non-blue bloods that could become, not blue bloods necessarily over a 50-year period, but they could have a little run, a little mini run in them.